Good morning. So I'm joined by Tracey McDonald this morning. Tracey is the very worthy recipient of the Law School Prize that Robertson Hyetts issues to a emeritus law student each year. Tracey, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Trent, and thank your firm very much for the prize.
That's okay. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about your pathway to the law? Because it's a little bit different from the conventional finishing year 12 and then jumping straight into law school.
Yes, it certainly is. I did my undergrad in anthropology and archaeology, never thinking I would come back to this area where I grew up, but I did. And I always wanted to follow it up. So sort of after settling in back here, I wanted to go back because, you know, you sort of really have to have PhD level to work in those areas. But that wasn't offered at Bendigo, so I went for sociology and did a graduate diploma and was invited to do honours, and I did my honours, and then I had the children, and after about 7 years I thought, well, I still want a job off farm, and I know your credit runs out after 10 years. So I went to an open day at Bendigo and put my name down for psychology, was accepted, but thought, I just wasn't sure I could make it with the children young and what have you. So I deferred for a year, and I went back the next year and I saw there was a psych law course, and I thought, oh, they won't let me into law, but I'll put my name down and that will settle it. Of course, I was accepted and I loved it from the very first class and ended up dropping the psych part of it.
What did you love about it, Tracey? That's really interesting. Tell me more about that. What drew you to it?
It was very different to what I'd imagined. I thought it would be sort of very dry, black and white laws that you had to remember sort of thing. But I loved the problem. I hadn't factored in the problem solving aspect and the challenges that go with that. And yes, it just turned out to be my thing, if you like, and I loved it right from day one. And of course, there's so many, I mean, I'm sure law is relevant to every walk in life, but it's very relevant to us with our own business and farming business. And
so tell me,
just find it very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me about that. Tell me about your farm and what you do when you're not hitting the books.
Well, I have a truck license, so in harvest I'm usually either driving the bin behind the tractor or driving the truck, or if our farm's already organised, because they often start before I finish uni and they get someone else in. My brother has 2 trucks, so he lets me drive one and go off farm and cart to make money with his truck. But that's slowed down a lot in the last few years with the boys because it's just not safe to have young children around that huge machinery that farms have these days. But otherwise, we're on 7,000 acres and it's mainly dry land cropping now. We used to have cattle and sheep, but that all ended with the last big drought. My partner, also in the last big drought, moved off farm professionally, and he worked as a director on the board of Murray Irrigation. I don't know if you know of them, but they're the big water utility company. I think they're the biggest in New South outside Sydney Water. So I'd actually tried to get him off the farm in the drought, but that was never going to happen. So he went to town and got a job. Yes, I keep pretty busy. We live a long way from everywhere. And so I have 500 kilometres a week just to and from the school bus here. My son is an athlete and trains at the track in Flora Hill in Bendigo 3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Although with COVID, of course, we're no longer able to travel into Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
So that's slowed things down a bit, which has been a big help. But yeah, I think the 2 biggest hurdles we have out here are our distance and the amount of travelling I do, and our lack of internet.
Mm-hmm.
For example, from our last week of university in October, we had no internet right through until the exams. So that meant no reading cases, and because I can't drive into Victoria at the moment, there was no going to the library, no nothing like that.
Yeah. So what did
Yes,
you do?
it's never been that bad. I think it's gotten worse with people all working from home, I suspect.
I think so too. So what did you do? Was it a matter of asking for articles to be posted to you, or what was your workaround?
I did a bit of that, but mainly I just used our notes and all the lectures, and I just listened to all the lectures once or twice over and just rewrote all my notes, and
Wow.
did the best I could.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, obviously it worked. And I guess coming into a busy time of year for the farm, are you still studying at the moment?
No, I'm thinking about taking up a summer subject, which doesn't start until mid-January, but I'm just not sure about that yet. Yeah, because it's actually harder to. Summer study's hard because the 2 boys are home, and it's easier to.
I guess there's always obligations on the farm as well. Tell me, which is easier, running a farm or studying law?
I think studying law.
Yeah.
There's no drought in law.
Yeah, that's very true. Is that what have been your strategies for finding time for both law or for all of your obligations? So obviously farming duties and your law studies and being a parent and a partner as well. How have you managed your time?
My work on the farm has backed off a lot, partly for the boys' safety when they were young, but also farming moves on so quickly these days. You know, for instance, all our tractors and sowing equipment and so forth are all upgraded now, and I would need a lot of tuition to be able to drive them. I tend to do farm work in the mornings and in the evenings, and during the day I study. And when the boys are at sport, I'm always sitting in the car studying. I study at the cricket, I study at the athletics, I study at the football.
Wow. It sounds like you're extracting the most out of every second of every day.
Yes, and as I was saying before, to get internet for the tutorials, I have to drive to the local cricket oval, which is 25 k's away, and park under the Telstra tower. So I've got enough internet capacity to get the Zoom session. I'm sure my tutor probably thinks I live out of my car. She can always see it there in the background.
Yeah, right. She'd appreciate and understand that, you know, we're all, this is an unusual year, 2020, and it's thrown a few curveballs at everybody.
Yes. And occasionally someone's come up and knocked on the door to see if I'm all right or what I'm doing there. Do I need help?
Well done. Hey, Tracey, what are your plans when you finish your law degree? Do you plan on working in the law?
Yes, definitely. I'd like to go into a local practice, whether it's in Echuca or Deniliquin or Barham. I'm hoping there'll be a place for me. I knocked on a door at a firm in Echuca, and they've given me some time in there, which was great.
It's always
And
good to experience firsthand the business of law, as aside from the theory and practice, the theory of law. That's a really good idea. Have you got any?
yes, and it's very different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I remember spending a lot of time in my property law lectures reading about Mabo and the Mabo cases, which are fascinating and interesting, but I
Mm.
don't think it's been a daily part of my practice since then.
No, that's right. Yes, I agree. I have an interest in that both from growing up here and my archaeology and anthropology and what have you. But I don't expect it to be part of when I'm practicing.
Yeah.
I imagine water law will feature big on my horizon.
Yeah, water law. I wonder whether there will still be some property law issues, easements, and so forth.
Yes, succession and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Tracey, just one last question for today. Do you have any tips or recommendations for anyone considering studying law?
Don't do it unless you really, really want to, in which case I'd highly recommend it because it's a very rewarding area to study.
Well
And
done.
all the people I've worked with have been fantastic. And yeah, no, I just love it.
I absolutely echo those sentiments 100%. It's challenging, but if you're interested, then it can also be very rewarding as well.
Yes.
Tracey, thank you very much for your time today. It was lovely chatting to you, and congratulations once again on your award, and best wishes with the rest of your studies.
Thank you very much, Trent. Thank you for the award and thank you for your interest.